Okay, start.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening, ladies. Welcome to today's Zoom meeting. This meeting is regarding domestic violence awareness, and we are here together to discuss what is domestic violence, what is it, how to recognize the symptoms, what can you do about it, how you can help someone who is suffering from domestic violence, what kind of support you can get, and how to identify victims, how you can identify someone, help someone who is suffering from domestic violence, what you can do to help them as well. So together, and we have a bunch of women here present for this meeting, and I think everyone present here is here because they are so passionate about domestic violence. They are known domestic violence victims, they worked with them, and they know that how it feels and how heartbreaking and how heart-wrenching it is, domestic violence, and what it feels like, because they've seen people, they've seen their clients, they've seen their friends, they've seen their family members, someone or the other go through it, and they are very, very passionate to create awareness for this cause, and that's why we are all here together. We have with us four brilliant guests as well, four panelists with us. So I'm going to introduce them. So we have with us kashmira.kalsi. She is an MBACP registered counselor, and she has over 16 years of experience of working with domestic violence victims, suffering from other various mental issues as well, like anxiety or depression. And then we have with us Purva Joshi. She's a professional choreographer. She has her own dance academy, and she is a motivational speaker and a mediation practitioner as well. And again, someone who is very young, but very, very passionate about this cause of domestic violence awareness. And then we have with us Seema Dhanak. She works in London as a homeless person's caseworker and has worked with domestic violence victims for over 16 years within the government safeguarding framework. And then we have with us Geeta, Shah, and she's founder of Women to Women Diamond organization. She has also many, many years of experience of supporting women suffering domestic violence awareness. And it's her birthday today as well. So happy birthday, Geeta.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you, everybody.
So we have our brilliant panelists together. So a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us. And thank you everybody who has joined this Zoom meeting with us. Thank you everybody who is watching us on Facebook. Thank you very much. So Kashmira, can we start with you, please? And if you can just tell our listeners, our viewers, what is domestic violence? How would you define domestic violence?
Thank you. Before I start, I would just like to say a big thank you to Rashmi for allowing us this platform to present our awareness on domestic abuse. And thank you, Jazzmine, for the introduction. So what is domestic abuse? When we think of domestic abuse, we have this picture, we conjure up this image of someone who's been battered, bruised, physically hurt, and that is what comes to our mind. But actually, domestic abuse is on many different levels. It can be physiological, where you can see the injuries on the body. There is mental abuse, and mental abuse involves things like gaslighting. And gaslighting is when the perpetrator psychologically manipulates the victim. So they try to gain power by manipulating the victim. So the victim ends up questioning their own reality, memory, or perception. For example, say if I said to you that you forgot to switch on the light, but you actually had switched on off the light, but I said you forgot to switch it off. And you keep saying, no, but I did switch it off. I say, no, but I actually did switch it off just now. You did not switch it on. You end up doubting yourself.
It's breaking down the victim's confidence.
Yes, and you start believing that perhaps you might actually have forgotten to switch it off, right?
Right.
So that's a simple example of gaslighting, and that is mental abuse. There is this emotional abuse. Now, emotional abuse is where they taunt you, they verbally abuse you, or you're not good enough, why can't you do this? Why can't you do it like so-and-so? Why can't you dress up like so-and-so? Why can't you be this? That strips a person's self-confidence, and they end up feeling so low about themselves. So that is emotional abuse. Then there is sexual abuse, and that is where The rape occurs within a marriage or in a relationship. That's an example. But it's basically performing any act without the consent of the partner. So if the partner is not willing, then that is abuse.
Yeah.
The last one is financial abuse. Now, financial abuse is where one partner controls the other partner's access to money, which diminishes the victim's capacity to support themselves and forces them to depend on the perpetrator financially. So, they don't have access to bank accounts, they don't have a credit card, sometimes they earn and they have to give their wages, and they don't have spending money. Every time they need money, they have to ask for it. And that is a form of control. That is an abuse in itself. Yeah? So these are the different levels of domestic abuse.
And especially coming women who are here from India and married here, they especially suffer even in a worse status.
Yeah, the thing is, the thing with the ones that come over from abroad, like they come from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, wherever they're coming from, they enter into these marriages here. They end up becoming prisoners in their own homes because they don't know the language. They don't have sometimes they don't have relatives, they have no friends, they have no support systems. So they end up completely locked up in this marriage, which is, but having said that, you'll be surprised there are so many even educated youngsters who are married in this country, but who have the control, where the partner has control over them, like the financial control. It still exists. And it's done in a very subtle way. The gaslighting still exists, even though they're married, even this country, couples. So, but the ones that who come from abroad, they really are at a, they suffer more, because they have the language barrier as well. They sometimes don't know where to seek help as well. Now, the problem we have is in our culture and in certain other cultures, there is a taboo about talking about what happens behind closed doors. We are not allowed to talk about abuse. So what happens is they end up suffering in silence. Sometimes they don't know where to go to, who to seek help from, and they are absolutely stuck. Now, the reluctance to talk about it due to the shame as well linked to it does not help them as well. So we really encourage people to speak up, to seek help, seek counseling, contact the police. If you're being abused, just ring the police. And once you ring the police, you are on the right path, because the police will join forces with all the other teams and you'll get the support that you need. Part of the thing about domestic abuse is there is a lot of gender inequality and gender exploitation. For example, women are expected to behave in a certain way and men are expected to behave in a certain way. And in some in some families and communities, what happens, the matriarch, in some cases, condones the behavior and she drives forward the abuse,
The mother-in-law sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
Women is a women's enemy, unfortunately.
Yes, exactly. The mother-in-law, sister-in-laws, all these people, they drive the abuse and this is where we as women can now reverse it and also say to ourselves, no, we need to be aware. One thing we have to, another thing that happens is domestic abuse does not only affect women. There are male victims of domestic abuse. According to the Office of National Statistics, 4.2% of men and 7.9% of women suffered domestic abuse in England and Wales in 2018.
Yeah.
So it is very, and men find it so difficult if they are being abused because there's, again, stigma attached to it. A man will feel ashamed to ask for help. People will not believe him. Like, for example, if a man is a 6-foot-tall man, gentleman, and he's got a little 4'8" partner, and if he turns around and presents himself saying, look what happened to me, even the police will find it hard to believe him for a minute. They can say, how can she do that to him? But it does happen, and it happens. Because the women use all sorts of weapons. They can use, there was a case where I heard where a woman had used an axe, where you used to break log wood for the fire. She'd actually just taken the axe and absolutely shattered the skull of her partner. So this is what we've got to be aware of, that abuse occurs where male are victims as well. Then children are affected. Once there's abuse going on in the family, when children witness their parents arguing, or children feel helpless, they cannot help or rescue their mom or whatever, they end up feeling very guilty or frightened. They grow up in fear, and it scars the children. Now, some women stay in a marriage thinking, I will hang on in here until my children grow up. because, you know, I can't support them financially. I won't have anywhere to live. It's best I stay in here because let them finish their education, let them finish their school, let them finish college, let them finish uni. It's too late. The children are scarred. You need to get out and safeguard your child and yourself is the message that I would give to all women who are suffering. And lastly, there is abuse happening to elders. It is sad to say that many youngsters abuse their elderly parents. Elderly parents who are living in the household are treated very, very badly. Sometimes they're not looked after properly. Sometimes they're not fed. You know, sometimes they're left to their own devices. Sometimes they're left in houses that have no heating.
And it's very
Sometimes they're
difficult
not.
to tell what's going on behind closed doors. So you just
That's
don't
right.
know.
And the poor elders, because the poor person, they could be a widow, they could be on their own, or they could be so helpless because, again, there's a barrier. And they are so ashamed to tell the neighbor or to tell a friend or to tell somebody that actually my children are abusing me. So they keep quiet and they suffer in silence as well. So can
But
you
what
see what I'm
causes-
trying to say? Yes, sorry, Jazzmine. you
Right,
were
what I was
saying
saying, what do you think? What causes men to do this? For example, if you're talking about domestic violence,
what causes who to do what in what way?
men or perpetrators, why?
Is meant.
What drives
Well,
them?
the cause can
violent?
be anything. They can be, there's many a time it stems from anger management. As I said to you, it's very gender, the expectations that we have, that we expect men to behave a certain way, and the women are primed to behave a certain way, that, you know, if a man says anything goes, you listen to the man. And, you know, that is what they've learned from their fathers and forefathers. But we need to break this cycle of behavior and teach them that this is not acceptable, right? So, and now in this country, domestic abuse is considered a crime. So the youngsters are all aware of it. The second generation, the children that are being born here, they're all very much aware that you do not lay a hand on your partner. You talk it out. If you have anger management, you go for anger management classes. Seek counseling to sort out your issues. Abusing your partner is not the way. But unfortunately, it still exists, right? And when somebody is, if there's some misuse, if somebody's got alcohol problems, drugs, you know, if their partners are using, then there will be violence in the household. And that is where the partners need to seek help. They need counseling, they need to go to their GP, they need to refer themselves for counseling, they need to refer themselves for rehab. If it's an alcohol problem, which is leading to anger, whatever it is, they need to address that problem. What is the root cause of what's happening in the marriage, right? But it's about educating them. It's about educating them and realizing that this is not acceptable. So children are very important. You don't hang in there for the sake of the children. You need to get out. Safeguard yourself, safeguard the children. It is very important that we do that. If you know of elders being abused, or sometimes you feel there's something wrong, look out. Look out for your neighbors, look out for your friends, because you might notice a change in their behavior. You can tell a lot. You know, sometimes you see a school mom when she's picking up children. There's something wrong. You can tell as a woman. Or, you know, they might be males. If they're males, your male friends can keep a lookout for their male friends. As a mother, look out for your son. Look out for your brother. He might be suffering. Your son might be suffering, you know. So as a woman, you can empower them and look out, be vigilant. And there are agencies out there, there are charities out there who are helping, who are ready to help you. But the first port of call is go to your GP. Seek help. The GP will refer you to a therapist. Google a therapist if you need. Google for rehabs. If you have a substance misuse problem, if there's alcohol problems and you need counseling, this is what the avenues that you go down. I'm just conscious that I'm running out of time for my 10 minutes. So just before I round up the session, what I would like to say is, there's a Hindi saying that's agar zulm karna paap hai, to zulm sehna bhi paap hai. So that means if committing an atrocity is a crime, then to endure that atrocity is also a crime. So please, 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 my message is, do not suffer in silence. Seek help, contact the police, contact your friends who can help you. We are all there, contact us, and we are all there to support you and help you.
Okay, thank you, Kashmira. Thank you. Purva Joshi, if we can come to you, Purva.
Yes, yes.
Hi, Purva. So what would you like to say? I mean, what do you think? What are the effects and the symptoms of domestic violence? If you talk about that, what would you like to say?
Right. So Jasmine, firstly, I'd like to thank Rashmi Di, and also a fantastic explanation by Kashmira as well. Adding up to what she said is talking about domestic violence. It is not just that happens in a marriage. First, it is something that happens in marriage. Not just happens, we say that it may happen at various places. It may happen in your school, right from when there are child abuses that happens. It may happen in your family. It may happen, because why this continuously happens is because we are being trained, our mind has been trained to understand that this is okay, this is acceptable. But maar khana is that's all right, is what we've already framed our mind, especially in India or Asia, if you say, that is the culture that we've seen. And if you talk about the effects or what are the consequences, so the domestic violence, it has a pattern that I would like to explain here. So the exactly pattern that domestic violence follows. So there are three, according to the scientists, it has been researched that there are 3 stages of domestic violence that takes place. So basically, the first stage that we see while a person, or the abuser is actually doing, or kind of, there is an intent of hurting your partner. That first stage is known as the tension building phase. So what exactly happens in that tension building phase? It's like there are abuses, but the abuse is not physical. It's not a physical abuse that happens. It is a verbal abuse that takes place. You are dominated. You are dominated in such a way that you don't have your own. You cannot voice out. आप नहीं बोल सकते. You cannot keep your own opinion sometimes. You are being taken out from your family. आप अपने family से दूर हो जाते हो. You are being taken out from the authority of taking decisions. Mostly it happens that whatever is your passion or your love or your loved ones, probably you are taken away from those. That this is the situation जब ये सब pattern शुरू होता है. This is a very small thing which we ignore, क्योंकि हम क्या सोचते हैं कि प्यार किया है, शादी है, for example, या हम जिससे किसी से भी प्यार करते हैं, भाई है, बहन है, मम्मी है, पापा है, तो it is okay. ये सब तो चलता ही है. You kind of take a step behind. ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. अभी probably I shouldn't give it much attention. ठीक है, तब तक के लिए बुरा लगता है, and then you kind of forget, right? So this is a tension building phase which happens at the very first stage of the domestic violence occurrence, which we generally neglect. We do this, we neglect this.
Take away your support network slowly. Whatever interests you have, whatever support you have, whether friends, your passion, your hobbies, so slowly start cutting that back.
Correct.
So that you become slowly isolated.
You kind of, what happens is eventually you are isolated. That's when, Jazzmine, we come to the second phase of the domestic violence cycle, which we call as the acute battering phase, or we call as the crisis phase. Okay, so this is the phase exactly when what happens is your physical abuse comes into picture. Because क्या होता है ना कि आपने आपका hold खो दिया है. You are not yourself. So you kind of allow the other person, the abuser, to just let yourself कि ठीक है, मतलब he has that hold over your mind, your body, that he can hit you. And you kind of बुरा लगता है, आप रोते हो, you kind of distance at a particular moment, but eventually you kind of lose everything. आप अपना मतलब डर के मारे आप बोल सकते हो, सोसाइटी का डर है. हाँ, and already first stage में क्या हुआ होता है, in the first stage what has already happened, your family, your friends, your passion, your entire thing is already
identity. You start losing your identity. I think that's what it is.
Basically, you are being bullied. That's the word for it, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. Exactly.
You're being bullied, yeah. And
you don't even realize it because it's slow and steady, and you don't even realize it at times. That's what she's saying as well, I think. And slowly, one by one, they take away your support.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, hi, Purva.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
I think there was a network glitch. Yeah, so already you are been, you've been taken away from that particular freedom of yours. So आप कुछ नहीं बोल पाते. So this is the attacking phase, wherein you actually lose out the control and the abuser has all the hold over you and you kind of take it. That time you definitely you don't seek help because of all the other content that Kashmira has already told and which we have discussed. Now the very a difficult stage that comes, and ironically it is known as the honeymoon phase of domestic violence. You know what is honeymoon phase of a domestic violence? मतलब नाम से बहुत ही अजीब लगेगा कि why is it said like this? You know why it is said like this? Because जब आप उस phase में होते हो and आप already you are on the victim side, for example, and you have taken all that violence. So you know what? Every human end of the day has some guilt about whatever he or she has done to the partner. They have some kind of reaction to it. So you know what happens to take that particular hold. जो आपका abuser है, you know what he will do? He will kind of say, sorry, ऐसा हुआ. ये मैं करना नहीं चाहता था. It was not intended. The abuser will always try to convince you that in a pattern that, I never wanted this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you because I love you so much. If you are my partner, I love you so much. How can I hurt you? So, in that particular phase where you are already so hollow and empty, you kind of feel that, oh my God, he is feeling sorry, he's crying. How can that person even think of hurting me? जरूर कुछ मैंने किया होगा या जरूर कुछ ऑफिस में प्रॉब्लम हुआ होगा, या जरूर किसी ने कुछ बोल दिया होगा, गुस्सा मुझ पे निकल गया. पर ये now he's saying that that he's not going to repeat it. That mentality. So the victim himself or herself convinces, coming to the point that come what may, I love him and I'm going to make this relationship work. And the abuser convinces you that what, this is not going to happen again. And you know what happens, Jazzmine? Eventually, ये जो होता है, इससे क्या लगता है पता है victim को कि we have the best bond. We have such a strong bond that we have such a strong bond that ये honeymoon phase मतलब अब हमारा प्यार और बढ़ गया है. That kind of mentality. It happens, in domestic violence. And then what you feel कि next time ना ऐसा नहीं होगा क्योंकि मैं पूरा कोशिश करूंगी कि ऐसा होने ही नहीं दूंगी और ना वो मेरे साथ करेगा. Then again 2-3 days या फिर a week time, it's a good honeymoon phase. ज़्यादा प्यार मिलता है, ज़्यादा pampering मिलती है. That point of time when a victim is badly hurt, tortured, probably physically abused, और वही इंसान आपको बहुत प्यार दे रहा है, आपके लिए गिफ्ट ला रहा है, फ्लावर्स ला रहा है, you will be on the top of the earth. You will feel, oh my God, I'm so happy. Things are getting better. You don't understand, Jazzmine, कैसा होता है? Eventually, वो honeymoon phase कब खत्म हो जाता है? And when you eventually again enter into that tension building phase number 1, #, you again enter and again the story repeats.
That's manipulation.
This manipulation. Yes. This manipulation and the cycle, it goes on repeating. इस सारे process में you kind of lose your own identity, you kind of lose your own self-esteem, you go so low.
एक दिन सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा, वो एक दिन की राह में आपकी पूरी जिंदगी निकल जाती है.
फिर आपके social barriers तो है ही, फिर आपके घर है, फिर आपके बच्चे हैं, फिर this continues the cycle and you get trapped into that. You kind of forget your own self. So ये इतना ज़्यादा मतलब difficult हो जाता है, even for a male or for a female to live that relation. तो वो सिर्फ एक कैसे बोलते हैं, एक botheration या binding के लिए आप उसको सहन करते जाते हो and you kind of आप समझते हो कि यही life है, मतलब ऐसा ही होता है and it's okay because क्या है ना, end of the day you are also somewhere aware कि honeymoon phase तो आएगा ना, sorry तो बोलेगा ना, प्यार तो करेगा ना, चलो कोई बात नहीं, आज के डेट में समाज में तो इज्जत है ना. So that kind of mentality, this is something that we really need to refrain from.
I think Shagufta needs to say something, wants to say something. She wants to comment something. Shagufta?
Yes, I was going to say, somebody asked, sorry, I was a bit late because I was at another meeting, so I missed at the beginning. But somebody asked the question, like, why are men doing this? Like, it was said that it's not just the men, it's even the women can abuse the system as well. So it can be either way. But what I was going to say was there are so many reasons they can be, besides anger and all that. There's economic reasons, the technology abuse, which is telephones and all that. Why you using your telephone, reading their messages.
Social media.
Yeah, like reading their messages, taking over their telephone, not allowing them to do things, get out of the house. Then there's sexual abuse, then emotional abuse.
Yes,
so there are so many.
We have spoken about that.
Okay.
We spoke. Kashmira gave a good brief understanding of the same. Yeah, she did cover that.
Yeah, and also you've spoken about the science and the science as well, haven't you? Have you spoken about?
I spoke about what is the psyche of abuser and a victim. I just spoke about that.
And no, but the person who's being abused, what kind of signs can you look out for?
No, we didn't come up to that because we had 4 speakers. So, everybody's topic is being divided like
we were talking about. Yeah, that's the chat we are having.
Okay.
Yeah, so
sorry about that.
No problem.
Thank you.
This is a conversation. We are all having a conversation and we all want to contribute. Did you want to say anything, Shagufta?
No, this is it. I just wanted to say that the signs are there. For example, if somebody is very withdrawn, if there are any kind of bruises, any kind of marks. Okay, so I missed all that out.
Not talking, somebody has become very quiet or not talkative anymore.
And then they're belittled, they're made to feel that they are worthless and all those kind of things. Sorry, I missed the beginning, so I beg your pardon. Okay,
that's absolutely fine. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
That's the reason why we all here. We're all so passionate. We want to talk about it. That's absolutely fine. Thank you, Shagufta.
You're welcome.
To continue?
Yeah, so I was just saying that, So I was just saying that, this vicious cycle of the pattern of domestic violence, it continues, and, we as a victim or we as a abuser, a person, there is always a weightage which grows up, the person who is doing it, because the victim doesn't speak out, doesn't tell, doesn't, open up. This is what happens, ki uska hold, it goes on increasing, and eventually it becomes a pattern in the house, and it is understood because, marenge, and फिर ठीक हो जाएगा, फिर कल खाना ही है एक साथ खाना, या कल जाना ही है office, because you kind of make this as your own regular life pattern, is what that I have observed from a lot of people that I see working with. So, we have to break this chain somewhere, I feel, Jazzmine, because this is a time where, nahi hota yaar, it's not accepted. Why would somebody hurt somebody? You love somebody for a reason, even though it is your any relation, a domestic abuse in any relation. If you love somebody, you have to love with without expectations, without judging, and both the parties should have their own respect. And abusing physically will cause a long-term loss for the victim. That is what people don't understand, because what has been observed is 90% of the cases where I'll talk about the women physical abuse that happen, they suffer with this post-traumatic stress disorder. So this is a disease which is very बहुत कम इसके बारे में लोगों को मालूम है, apart from anxiety, depression or whatever. So many people feel कि domestic violence हो जाने के बाद आप उससे बाहर निकलते हो, temporary depression होता है, and then you feel that I am a survivor, मैंने उससे निकल गई हूँ. नहीं होता. This post-traumatic stress disorder, it remains with you. Probably I'm sure Kashmira and everybody, you all agree with me, because इससे ऐसा होता है कि you kind of, आपको ऐसा लगता है कि आप उससे निकल गए हो, but you're not. The bruises, the kind of flashbacks, the memories, कभी-कभी होता है कि वो जो, yes, that would never go. Yes, वो जो mental bruising होता है, you cannot come out of that, and you kind of hurt that person forever. So आप भी वो second stage, so the stages which I told you, so if you are feeling that this thing is happening, might as well you stop it at the very first stage, is what I feel. And the person who is doing it also should understand कि किसी पे hold रख के आप किसी को अपने से प्यार करने पे मजबूर भी नहीं कर सकते हो, and you cannot force anybody to do anything that you want. Some other day this is going to break, and this is not going to give you any satisfaction in whatsoever relationship you are in. So,
and I think what domestic violence victims need to understand is that if you're hoping कि एक दिन ये change हो जाएंगे, तो unfortunately वो change होते नहीं है, unfortunately. So वो गलत फहमी में और वो राह में अगर अपनी पूरी जिंदगी निकाल देंगे, if you just wasting your life waiting for that one day when it will change,
yes.
it's likely that it's not going to happen.
There is a 0%, there's a very less % possibility. I will not say that it will never change. मतलब बहुत ही ज़्यादा मतलब उसमें 1% वाला chance होता है. But because क्योंकि जो बंदा कर रहा है ना या बंदी कर
I think we lost Purva for a while.
Yeah.
Seema, can we come to you?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Seema, if you can just tell our viewers again what you do exactly and how you help the domestic violence victims.
Okay, so I work for a local authority. I'm a homeless caseworker.
Baba.
Hi, have we got you back, Purva?
No. I think I was just saying that there was no internet connection, so I think I got disconnected. No worries, Seema, you continue. So I was just saying that you kind of have to just break this particular chain and need to voice out is what I was going to conclude and come back. Yeah. Thanks, Seema.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, my name's Seema. Firstly, Rashmi and Jazzmine, thank you for this fantastic opportunity to talk on such a wonderful platform. I've been working with victims of domestic abuse for the last 15 to 16 years, and working with those families who have become homeless as a result, directly as a result of domestic violence. I've worked with people who don't have any immigration status and done partnership work with social services. I've worked very closely with the police. I sit on a panel, safeguarding panel, which is a collection of professional services such as NHS, the police, local authorities, women's centres, independent domestic violence workers, social workers, where we all discuss safety and contingency plans for victims of domestic violence. On the other side of it, I also work with perpetrators of domestic abuse where they are due to be released from prison as a result of being convicted of a serious crime relating to domestic abuse or a serious crime relating to a person-related offence such as murder, sex offences, and various other sort of dangerous crimes. So I have a lot of experience of working within government frameworks, and in my experience, what I want to say to our viewers and our audience today is that the value of these professional services within the UK is absolutely phenomenal. We are so fortunate in this country that we have a domestic violence bill where domestic violence has been criminalised. We have a framework of professionals who can work with you to safeguard you and protect you. We have charities and independent services that can provide you with emotional support. And we have a legal framework here of lawyers and solicitors who can help you with family law as well. So on that note, what I would like to say is what I would like to talk more about is the importance of actually reaching out to these professional services. Now, in my 15 years of experience, I have mainly worked with the UK's British community, and it isn't that domestic violence doesn't happen within our Asian communities. It does, but my question to you is, well, if it's happening in our community, why are these women not coming forward and asking for help from professionals? And there is a number of reasons for why women or men or anyone suffering with abuse feel really anxious about the idea of reporting domestic abuse to a professional. The obvious one is the stigma attached to having the police coming to your door. It is seen as being something that people are embarrassed about, they are ashamed, and they don't like to have police involvement in their families. The other one is the risk of homelessness. When you flee domestic violence and you lose your home, you lose an entire lifestyle with that as well. And that fear of where am I going to be tomorrow? Where is my roof? Where is the roof of over my head going to come from? Where is my next meal going to come from? That fear is enough to keep a woman or a man in a relationship that is abusive, because it's better the devil you know. You would rather suffer than go down a road that you just don't know what the outcome is going to be. And the third reason is children. Our communities seem to fear social services, and the reason for that fear is because there is this automatic assumption that where social services are involved, that the children will get taken off of them. So I want to take this opportunity to dispel some of these myths. Okay, firstly, I want to talk about the involvement of the police. The police are now very, very well equipped to understand and identify who is the perpetrator and who is not in an abusive relationship. And with that, I will also say that sometimes the abuse is 50-50. It isn't always a victim-perpetrator relationship. Sometimes two partners are genuinely abusive towards each other on a 50-50 level, on a 60-40 level. The victim is not always the victim, and the perpetrator is not always the perpetrators. Those can switch over, and I have seen that from my experience as well.
Right.
The second side of it is the involvement from social services. The social workers are not there to take your children off you. It costs an enormous amount of money and a tremendous amount of work for social services to say, right, we're going to take your children off you. Their job is not to automatically remove the child from the family home. Their job is to help you to understand the impact that the domestic abuse is having on the child, and to help you safeguard your child from the impact of that domestic abuse, whether it's physical harm, whether it's emotional harm. Kashmira mentioned earlier that the psychological impact on children is immense. They then pick up these learnt behaviours and can potentially go on to be perpetrators of abuse themselves, or become victims of abuse themselves, because it's normalised for them. So the role of social services is to work with you and to help you to understand what steps are necessary for you to be able to work on keeping your family together. It is not about taking anyone away from you. The other side of it is the homelessness side. And I want to touch on the services specifically in the UK. I apologise if there are people who are not in the UK, but I will be talking about the services here. Refuges are a place of safety. They are not a prison. And yes, it's hard to live in a home, in a place where you've never been before, around people who you've never known before, in a place that you've never been to before. I totally understand how daunting and how scary that must be for a person who is leaving an abusive relationship. But again, what I would like to say in response to that is, at the end of that journey is your freedom and is your new life. And the support that is given to victims of domestic abuse in refuges is absolutely second to none. There are counsellors like Kashmira who work with refugees, who provide the support and the emotional help that they need. They will help to resettle you back into the community, help get your children back into schools. Social work.
To the extent that they even have translators as well, isn't it? For still, like some women, they cannot speak Gujarati, like they can't speak English, and they're like Gujarati or Hindi. They'll even go to the extent of having a translator for you.
Yes,
they will. Women have nothing to worry about.
They will give you clothes. They will provide you with pots and pans for your new home. They will even help you make homeless applications to local authorities if if you're left homeless and you have nowhere to go. There is an Asian women's refuge that I'm working with, in fact, at this very moment, who is in the process of applying for an immigration status for somebody. So it just goes to show that you don't necessarily even need to have a lawyer, and I will talk about the legal framework in a moment as well, but you don't necessarily need to have access to a lawyer to be able to take the actions that you need to, whether it's immigration. The next thing is the legal framework of action against a perpetrator of domestic abuse, okay? And the refuges can help you not just in the refuge, but they have something called outreach support. Outreach support is where they have an independent domestic violence worker who is able to give you a specific worker who concentrates just on your case alone. So if that means you own your home, for example, and you don't want to leave, then actually the independent domestic violence worker can also help you apply for things like non-molestation orders and occupation orders. What that means for you is that you and your family get to stay in the property that you own, and the perpetrator of domestic abuse is forced by court order to leave. And that also means that because there's a non-molestation order, it becomes a criminal offence for he or anyone else, members of his family or she, to actually harass you whilst you're in that property. So there is a lot of work that can be done to safeguard you, whether you're doing that through an independent domestic violence worker, and that then leads on to the legal framework. So let's have a look at what is available. There are family law solicitors who can also do exactly the same work as an independent domestic violence worker in terms of non-molestation orders or occupation orders. And if your case is complex, then your independent domestic violence worker may actually say, well, let's go to a solicitor instead, which is perfectly acceptable. We also need to not forget that there are an enormous number of women who come in from Asian countries, married, and are absolutely petrified, and Kashmira touched on this earlier as well, where you come into this country, you're perhaps either dependent on your own working visa, where you have to be working with a certain employer with that visa, or you've come on a spouse visa where you're completely dependent on your partner. And another thing that derives from those insecure immigration statuses is the gaslighting thing around that too, being made to believe that without me you're nothing, you leave me and there is nothing out there for you.
I'll get you kicked out of the country, I'll make you leave the country.
Exactly. And that fear of actually you're going to get sent back to your country, and there's nothing there for them, or there's the shame element that as it is in our Asian cultures as well, about women going back home to their sort of marital, their maternal homes. So all the shame and everything attached to that. Nobody's going to marry your daughters. These sort of things, that it keeps them in these relationships, and it becomes a case of power and control. So a good solicitor will be able to help you with the immigration status side of things. You can absolutely claim political asylum, and you can claim that on the grounds of domestic violence. You should talk to your embassy. India High Commission actually has a distressed Indian women's cell. And these are not services that are just for women, for example, who have children. There are destitution funds for single women who don't have children and who are completely financially dependent as well. So there is help out there. And those women who don't have a secure immigration status and do have children, well, then you would fall under social services, and social services will absolutely take you under their wing. They will provide you with accommodation. They will provide you with sustenance funds, and so that you've got food on the table. So this is not a country where you would need to sleep on the road as a result of domestic abuse. There are places to go, people who can help you. And so with that, what I would like to say is that please have faith in the services that we have in this country, because they are valuable. Yes, as a professional, I know that the services are not completely perfect, but in comparison to what I have seen in other countries, what we have set up is exemplary. So if anyone would like to know a bit more about professional services and would like some more signposting, please feel free to contact me. My information is on the poster that was sent out with the Zoom link. But that is pretty much everything that I wanted to say in relation to professional services. One last thing that I would like to add, and it's something that hasn't been covered in our conversation yet. The law in this country not only recognises domestic violence between the family and the typical sort of husband-wife situation, or parents to children situation, it also recognises honour-based violence and forced marriage. And there have been a number of cases in the UK where young girls have been forced to go back home, whether it's India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and forced into marriage. That is also now a crime. There is a Forced Marriage Act in this country, and honour-based violence also falls under that as well, where a woman is being abused by the entire family in the name of upkeeping the family's honour. These are all elements of domestic violence which are criminalised in this country. However, if you do not report these incidents of domestic abuse, when it comes to fighting your case out in the court of law, your case is going to feel really weak. So you have to report this, whether you report it to the police, whether you report it to your local authority, whether you're working with an independent domestic violence worker. Please, please, please speak out and report this to professionals, so that when you are ready to break free, when you've got the strength to be able to do that, you have a strong enough case to be able to break free without so much strain. There has been a question in the chat saying, I have a question related to children and parents related violence. Could you please elaborate on what you mean by that? I think there's questions come from a lady called Nikita.
Nikita, maybe you need to type in a bit more, like what exact question do you have? We'll wait for your question till then. I think that's all she's saying.
I think she may mean that, you know, parents, Indian parents hitting children, something like that, is it?
So that would be a safeguarding issue, and absolutely in those circumstances.
Okay, she's unmuted herself. She wants to talk. Yeah, Nikita.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Can I ask? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Hello. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to ask this question. This question is about now there, like in India, there are a lot of learned parents staying in the city, metropolitan city and everything. They have a lot of pressure, stress, everything. So they have issues between them, and they're intellectuals, they're smart. And as they grow up, of course, if there is violence, emotional violence and everything, that does affect the children. And then in this whole process, the children, there's like, this is my personal case, but this is what like I would like to ask as a question. Okay, that the parents have made the children dependent on them. Like on the outside, they have made us a professional. They have given us degree. They have made us like sure that we get education and everything. But when we try to get financially independent and all like that, so they are like derailing us emotionally and, you know, not wanting us to be independent. So this is like really a complicated situation where the parents are educated, they are intellectuals, and you know, like children are, you know, trying to be independent, but because they don't want us to be independent, and you know, this complicated kind of you know, violence, like, you know, like because they are our parents and they know everything about us, it's really very hard to break out of such patterns. So like,
so you're talking about grown-up children, right? Like when you're
yes.
grown up, and
yes,
so I think
yes.
that's a matter of, you know, you have to understand. I mean, once you this is emotional blackmail. That's what you're saying, isn't it? The elderly parents are emotionally blackmailing you.
Yeah, so yeah, it's really hard to like actually to break out of such patterns, and then like they even try to corner you with every thing, which whatever possible society, and you know, this is your duty, that now we are growing old and you need to take care of us. And then, you know, like all those patterns which even Seema and Purva discussed before, they use all these things against. And this is just not me. I have seen other friends also. They are also going through this because
yeah, these are the cultural issues. They are the cultural issues, aren't they?
Exactly, and especially in Indian culture, this is a very strong tool that they might use. Parents might use that, you know, it's your duty to look after us, and you know, financially they want to be in control. Even if the child is earning and grows up and starts earning, the parents, they still want the financial control. Is that what you're saying, Nikita?
Yes.
Could I just kind of jump in and provide some insight there. When it comes to domestic abuse, there are some common patterns, irrespective of who the abuse is happening with, whether the dynamic is two partners or whether it's parent and child. Ultimately, what it boils down to is power and control. And this is something that is true of all cultures, not just the Asian culture as well. It happens in British and European countries too. And the power and control is as such, where they are using the things that they've done for you, whether it's, oh, I gave up my dream so that you could become a doctor, and I gave up this so I wouldn't buy myself a new sari because so that I could put food on the table for you, or pay for your university fees. And I think if you're looking for a solution on how to overcome that, I think you need to look at what is the dynamic, what is your relationship like with your parents, and not just you, but anyone who is experiencing this. Is it as such where you can genuinely have a sit-down conversation with them and explain to them that, look, what you did from a place of wanting to give me that because you wanted me to have a good future. Now you need to let me live that future and not hold me to ransom because you've done it for me. I see it's a common thing, even with Asian parents, and not to that extent, but even my own parents have been guilty of making comments like, we didn't have this when we were your age, but we gave to you. And it can be emotionally distressing.
Emotional blackmail. Yeah, it's an emotional blackmail, isn't it?
It is. So assess your relationship with them as to whether or not it's something that you can have a sit-down conversation with. If it isn't something that you can have a conversation with them about, then for sure, I think you need to find coping strategies, because it isn't always practical for us to disown our parents, and it isn't always practical for us to not have a relationship with them, unless, of course, that relationship is so toxic that it's actually starting to cause you harm. Then you really have to reassess it on a different level. But instead, I think, look for coping strategies. Those coping strategies could be through mindfulness and meditation. It could be through psychotherapy and counseling. It could be through cognitive behavioral therapy, where you're able to understand what triggers your emotions when they are saying certain things to you. Because let's face it, when our caregivers are the ones who are inflicting abuse on us, that's when it hurts us the most. And when those caregivers are our parents or our loved ones, it's almost impossible to break free from. You can break free from an abusive partner, but breaking free from a parent, and who knows, maybe subconsciously they don't even realize that they're actually being abusive.
Right.
So I think those are there's a lot to think about. If you want to connect privately, please feel free to. We have got psychotherapists on our panel. Kashmira is one. And but if you want to sort of talk some more, then by all means, please do feel free to connect.
And I think we got a comment saying, I think counseling for you would work as well. You need to decondition yourself and empower oneself. So that's one thing as well. You can go for counseling as well, and it might help you cope with this situation better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hope that answers your question, Geeta. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Seema, anything else you would like to add?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Geeta, can we come to you?
Hi, thank you, Jazzmine. Thank you to
Geeta.
Rashmi as well for giving me this opportunity. So basically, in my case, I'm the founder of Women to Women Diamond. It's a group I've been running for over 8 years, and via the group, I get a lot of women who contact me regarding various issues. So wherever I can help them, I try and help them. Wherever I can't help them, I try and signpost them in the right direction, whether they need a counselor, whether they need a solicitor, whatever they need, I try and help them in that way. Sometimes all they need is an ear. All they need is somebody to talk to, because that's what a counselor does. You just sort of hear them out and they'll come to a decision themselves. You just sort of listen to them. So that's my experience. But the reason I'm so interested is because this is something that happened to me when I was about 23 years old. That's when I got married to somebody who was abusive. So everything that Kashmira has mentioned, everything that Purva has mentioned, the gaslighting, the controlling, it all happened. All sorts of abuse that you could think of, it did happen. Him sort of trying to disconnect me from my family, my friends, everything. And I remember like sort of, if I had known about such a platform, you know, like sort of the wonderful ladies like you, that it would have helped me so much at that time. But I was so lost at times. I didn't know what to do. So because of that, I think I sort of made a couple of half-hearted attempts at taking my own life, you know. I just didn't know what to do. I remember like sort of going to the park and just sitting there, not knowing where to go, what to do. It took a long time for the family to accept that things were going wrong. In the beginning, it was always like, it takes time. It takes time for you to adjust in your marriage, you know, just sort of,
just
exactly, just adjust, like things will get better. Exactly, exactly. So things will get better. Maybe once you have children, things will get better. You know, he'll be more committed to you. He'll be committed to the children. And that's when things will change. And just like Purva mentioned about the honeymoon phase of it, sort of, he'll abuse you and then he'll say, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, it hurts me as much as it hurts you to do what I'm doing. I didn't really mean to do it. I'm really sorry. It'll never happen again. And sort of you think, yeah, he loves me, he really loves me. Then the flowers come along and all these other things come along and you think, okay, fine, forget it, you know. And then it happens again and then it happens again. So this kept on happening for nearly 2 years. And during that 2 years, I think I must have left like 5 times. 5 times I left and I came back and I left and I came back. And partly it was the conditioning, the brainwashing, the centuries of brainwashing that you have, that once you're married, you cannot leave. Marriage is for life. No matter what happens, you go through it. Even the elders, the society say, oh, these sort of things used to happen to us, but look, we're okay now. You know, it's just time. In time, everything will be okay. So you keep on going, you keep on coming back, you keep on going. And I think, and sometimes one of the ways that I had of coping was to detach myself. It's like things are happening to somebody else. It's not happening to me. I'm somewhere up there looking down on someone here.
Yeah, I'm just someone else's life.
Exactly.
I think you are doing.
Exactly. So part of the time, I think I coped by thinking along those lines. And then finally, sort of final line, the final thing that made me leave was like when we had a car accident. And that's when I finally thought, okay, you know, there was a sign I was looking for. I got that sign from God, and that's when I left him. Yeah. So, I mean, it was less than 2 years, and luckily, like, there were no children in that marriage. So I could do a complete, you know, I could completely cut myself off from him. I didn't have to have anything more to do with him. So I was lucky, and I'm blessed that I'm still here to tell the story. So all these years down the line, 10 years ago, I created Women to Women Diamond. And the reason I created is mainly to help women. There are so many women who are at various stages of what Kashmira mentioned. Some of them are physically abused, but some of them are emotionally, some of them are controlled financially. They're all lots and lots of different things. And they're really, you can't tell them that they've got to leave. They can't really leave, because some of them are sometimes grandparents. They've got, you know, the society, the way they live, they've never opened a bank account. They don't know how to manage the money. They don't know how to pay the mortgage. They won't know how to pay the bills. They have absolutely no idea how they're going to survive by themselves. So you can't just say leave. It's actually not that easy. I know that. If for me, as a young person at the age of sort of 23, 25, I found it so hard. I couldn't tell someone who's 60, 70 years old, look, the only solution is for you to leave. It's actually not that easy to leave. So all you can do is listen to them. If they need help, offer them help. And a lot of women have come back to me sort of via Women to Women and said that you have no difference, that you have no idea that all the things that you are doing, all the activities that we do, it helps them so much. It helps them to get out of that atmosphere, even for a short while. So in the weekend, they look forward to the weekends where they go out with other ladies. You know, there are lots and lots of different interests, whether it's sort of Bollywood, or they do bhajans, or they do gardening, or there's so many different things we do. And it really, really helps them that they just need that little bit of time to themselves, and they're getting that via this, and they get the support from the other women. Just talking, discussing things, and all of it just helps them. So that's where I come in. And also people have contacted me, people who have been abused and they're looking for something. So this is where I try and help where I can. And if I can, then obviously I try and suggest counselors to them or solicitors, and they take it from there. I mean, at the moment, like there is somebody who regularly sort of contacts me and says that, you know, this is where I am at. And I'll just say that, look, keep me informed, let me know how you're getting on. If you need any more, just let me know. So they're just going through that process, you know, but yeah, so this is what's happening with me. So yeah, I mean, I'm just happy that via my group, so many people are being helped in lots of different ways. And I'm blessed that because of this group, I'm meeting people like Rashmi and all of you, you know, lovely ladies who can give so much help to so many people. So thank you very much for that.
And I think especially for women suffering domestic violence, just that one information, that helping hand, that signpost from where you can get help,
very important.
That information and help can change everything for them.
Right. I think, yeah, you're right, Geeta, because I would just like to intervene here, because Geeta, you know what, sometimes when people, even though I am not connected to you directly, or, you know, but when I know there is somebody for me to hear out, for me to understand, you know, there are many females who try to get support from their families, their friends, but eventually they are being not heard, they have been ignored, and you know, there is nobody to talk to, there is nobody whom we can actually share things. So, you know, whatever your group is doing, you know, even if you're not helping them out in a very long turnover, but even though the listening part of it, you know, taking them out, as you said, taking them out to bhajans, or, you know, just a beach or wherever, you know, that also makes a lot of difference. You know, it gives a confidence to that particular victim when he knows that, you know, there is somebody with you. That's a very great work that you're doing.
Can I just say that counseling provides a very safe, non-judgmental and a very confidential setting, so people can say exactly what they want to say. When you talk to family and friends, it's biased, you know, because they get fed up of listening to the same thing all the time, and you feel they don't even have time for you. You come to a point where you're just saying everything, and you feel that the family and friends are not interested, or you feel you're just repeating the same old thing, or sometimes you can't even tell them what's happening. But when you go for counseling, counseling is not only about the counselor doesn't not only listen to you, but through talking, you arrive at your own conclusion of your own behavior and the way you are in the relationship and what it is that is happening in the relationship. And by talking it through, you are able to share everything you're going through and work with the trauma that you're going through. As Purva mentioned, that PTSD is a very huge thing, because some women will get flashbacks, will have nightmares, will become very fearful, will develop anxiety, and will be very frightened to stay on their own. So counseling is a process that actually digs deep and works with the individual, and not only works in learning about that individual, but also helps them to build up their self-worth, because slowly they come out of it. And there are techniques we use in counseling. There are various types of counseling. There's CBT, which is very solution focused. Then there's psychodynamic analysis, which goes way into the childhood of why you are. Then there's person-centered, which works with the here and now. So there's different modalities of counseling, and the counselors use all the tools they have to work with the victim. And the victim then is able to move forward in their life, because they feel empowered, even just by talking sometimes. It's like they're so bottled up, and then they just release it all. And that release in itself is very cathartic, and it really helps that individual. And slowly a trust develops between the counselor and the client. And then they start trusting them more and more and more, and they start growing. But when you come, if you can imagine, this frizzled up person that came to us slowly blossoms into that beautiful flower, and they find themselves. They literally find themselves, and they become so empowered that they sometimes decide to leave that abusive relationship. If they decide to choose to stay in it, because we as counselors cannot make them leave, it's their choice. But if they decide to stay in it, they have got tools and they've got situations or coping strategies that they work with. And like one of the coping strategies is like what Geeta said, that they join groups and they find their own life and they make a life for themselves. So that is what it's about. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kashmira. So we got a question now, and Sneha is asking, what solution can you suggest for a situation where the parent is seriously physically abusive to their adult girl child, and where healthy communication is out of the question, and there is no person of authority in the family to keep things under control? What advice can we give her?
Okay, can I answer that? Because obviously the pandemic, if it's somebody who's living in the pandemic in the UK, the stance is that it is not, firstly, it is 100% not mandatory for a victim of abuse to remain in the family home. They can leave, they can acquire spaces at refuges, they can make homeless applications to their local authorities if a refuge is not appropriate, and they can also seek advice from independent domestic violence services as well. I am not an advocate for somebody who wants to split families up. I don't believe in that. I'm still quite traditional and believe that families are an institution. However, if the family are not calling out the abusive perpetrator in the family and calling a spade and saying that, look, this is abuse and this is not acceptable, you cannot hit or abuse your adult child or your adult daughter, then she's honestly better off leaving the family home. And that would be my advice. And again, if this is somebody who needs further signposting, please connect. I'm happy to provide the correct signposting to her.
And Sneha, what I can add is you can report these cases to social services. You can report anonymously as well, and you can let the council be aware that you know that such a child is being abused in so-and-so family. You can leave the details and social services will investigate. So if you think you know someone who is being abused, a child in a family, you can report it to the social services as well. Right? Thank you. And if we just talk about, domestic violence, it has been an issue that's been going on for like generations. But what can we do so that it doesn't happen in future? I think we as women, because we are raising men. So what can we do?
There's a lot of education going on in schools nowadays. Even the police are going around giving talks in schools. So they are actually educating the children on what violence is and how. And so we'd like to think that this generation, the young children, and as we said, it is criminalized, that it is now a law that, domestic abuse is a crime. So the young ones even understand. So there is a lot of awareness happening. And there are also projects where people go around to schools talking about it as well. And sometimes in community centers and in other places, there are talks and awareness is being raised. And like platforms are like ourselves, like today, for example, I would like to think that even at least one person would have benefited from our talk today. So it's the platforms like this that we are trying to raise awareness.
Exactly. And as long as women understand.
Yeah, so I think in India, like how Seema has well explained about, and even Kashmira, you've got so many organizations in UK, you've got so many laws, and I've stayed in UK and I know that it is really a big offense, doing a domestic violence. But here in India, it's not as simple as how we are talking right now. It is not. It is very difficult. People have accepted it, or SIE and even the police, even the authorities, and everywhere. I have seen them. It is they take it very lightly. क्या मारा ही तो है ना.
Mindset चाहिए ना change कर.
हाँ जी. So that mindset that can only come with some awareness. And that can come only with, people of our age, or, the youngsters, whom we can talk to and explain them. That's the only, I think that is the only little small tool that we can start, from our own home, especially. अगर सब लोग अपने घर से ये शुरुआत करें, raising up your children like that, your brothers and sisters, hitting is not the solution. So I think that's where you can contribute. I'm just talking about the Indian part of society. It is very difficult. लोग बताते नहीं है, अपनी खुद की best friend है, we don't know this is happening because she is ashamed to say, because she loves parents also, then she loves her sister, brother also, and they don't open up. So I think that That is very important. And from my end, what I do here is, of course, I talk to people as well, I empower them, but I also take this because I'm a professional choreographer. So I teach students of all ages. I teach all kinds of dance forms. I'm a Bharatanatyam graduate as well. So I have done this course in dance therapy. So, this is where something I contribute. So along with my dance sessions, I also teach, and, I kind of inculcate the values within the small babies, those who come to me, even the frustrated mommies whom I teach, the couples who come to learn salsa, I start with their mind relaxation. I start with giving them the talks and, actually making them understand कि dance hai, but dance is a form of expression. So if your expression is love, then ही प्यार आएगा. So this is the small contribution which I do. So I have my sessions coming up in August as well. So now I'm doing it online, the dance therapy sessions along with the dance classes. So anybody who is interested can join me as well over there. But I think everybody can contribute likewise, from a very small contribution.
And as I mentioned before, that as a mother, you have a very powerful role, and you can educate your children.
Yes.
So if you practice that and you teach them that, no, you do not lift a hand, you do not abuse, and you teach respect, and respect comes in both forms, respect everyone, whether it's a male, female, whatever. And if the basis is there, when we work on respect, then everything follows, everything follows. But it's about that. And it all starts when we sometimes blame schools or institutions, but actually everything starts from home, we can, the grassroots. So if we can educate them, we are the mothers, the parents are the first teachers. We are the gurus, as they say. Maa baap guru hote hai. And it's absolutely true. It starts from home and then it goes out and they take it into their lives and in their marriages or partnerships or relationships. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, kids. Rashmi, thank you for organizing this wonderful IIW Domestic Violence Awareness event. Would you like to say something, please?
Yes, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I'm just trying to share a screen of a very wonderful song which has been given to me by Purva. Ye mat kaho khuda se.
It is kashmira.
So, Purva, is it possible to share it from your side, or let me try? I'm just figuring out how to share. I'm requesting. Bhumi had to leave early, and I had to.
I will tell my friend.
One thing we did you guys mention about what about the mother-in-laws abusing
yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Can
Fantastic song.
We can't see the screen.
It's all right, but we can hear the music. It's
very hear music, yeah.
Oh, Ankita likes this song.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ankita. Thank you, Parth. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, Kashmira.
Thank you. It was
Seema.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
everybody.
It was very
Thanks.
enlightening. Thank you.
Everybody goes. I want to say tomorrow's speaker is Parin Somani, and Parin is an international academic speaker for global education and mental wellness. So here we have Parin Somani. She is going to be tomorrow for us. So do join us. Our show continues till 28th of July.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rashmi.
Thank you very much, everybody,
for hosting the show.
Lovely to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much for being part of it and trying to help. So we want to tell everybody that the purpose of the show is that do not bottle it up. We are here. We are here. All these people, they can share their numbers with you. They can share their emails with you. We can guide you to a counselor, a person who can help you, the police, the refuge center. We are there for you. So you don't have to just bear with somebody who loves you and at the same time abuses you. So let us just
I think so. I think we need to steer away again.
I do feel that poor men, there is abuse and there is a lot of things that is going on. There is abuse, but at the same time there are men who are genuinely nice, and women are, I don't know if that's the right word to use at this platform, but women are the haters of women itself. So women are the main source which puts other women down. So we shouldn't forget that men are only really not worth it. It's
women can abuse the system as well. Women can abuse
ladies,
the system.
ladies, we are just not. We are just not here to talk about the men and the
exactly.
Violence. It was
we are
violence altogether. It is the
Exactly.
violence altogether. Violence can be with anybody. I just wanted to end this session in a way that life is beautiful. All relationships are beautiful.
Are important.
They're very beautiful. They are, it's just beautiful life, and all relations have their own worth. We need to respect each and every relationship that we have. There is absolutely no point in dominating and criticizing anybody in our life, be it maybe anyone. And that's how you can make a life better. खुद भी अच्छे रहो, दूसरों को भी अच्छे रहने दो. Enjoy करो. We have a very short life. So there shouldn't be any competition as such. This is all gone now. We are all superwomen.
It's not about
men.
It's not about shaming. It's about just leading our lives to the best of our.
मिलजुल के रहो, मिलजुल के रहो.
Note, I think we
tolerate करना पड़ेगा ना, एक दूसरे को tolerance चाहिए, patience चाहिए.
सब कुछ रिस्पेक्ट होगा शगुफ्ता जी तो सब खुद से हो जाता है. प्यार और रिस्पेक्ट दो ऐसी चीजें हैं ना कि इंसान को किसी भी चीज में आप एक्सेप्ट कर लोगे. रिस्पेक्ट है तो समझ भी लोगे, पेशेंस है, प्यार है तो सब अंडरस्टैंड. पर सबके दायरे होते हैं, सब दायरे में रहो.
सबके circumstances होते हैं ना, circumstances होते हैं.
इसीलिए तो है ना कि
ladies, we have moved.
This discussion is
okay. Bye everyone.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you everybody.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
It was a healthy discussion. Thank you.
See you also.
Bye. Bye.
आज फोटो लिए किसी ने.
Oh gosh, that was tough.
Not here.
Well done, Purva, for finding it.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Bye.
Geeta has left. Everyone.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. Kashmira, Seema, you all were wonderful. Thank you for taking out time and being here. Namaste to you.
Thank you.
You're doing amazing work. Geeta, Purva, बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हो. And please, let's stick together. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much, Rashmi, for giving us this platform. Without it wouldn't have happened today. And we hope that we made one person's life, a difference in someone's life, and raised awareness. That is what we want. So thank you, everyone. Ladies, have a lovely evening and God bless. Bye-bye. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm leaving now. So. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
You all are looking lovely, Seema, Kashmira. Bye. Okay, Purva. It was lovely. Bye. You did very good. You spoke. Well done. Bye. Neil Kalsi. Who is this Galaxy Grand? Bhai, okay, behan ho bhai. I'm just trying to make fun. Okay, so I'm going to end now. Yeah, take care. Bye.